gonna be this way. Your child's a joke, you broke, your love lost your way. It's like you're always stuck in second gear. And when it hasn't been your day, you're waiting for, or even you're here. Well, I'll be there for you. When the rain starts to pour, I'll be there for you. Like I've been there before, I'll be there for you. 'Cause you're there for me too. Still in bed at 10, and what we get at it. You burn your breakfast so far, things are going great. Your mother warned you there'd be days like these, but she didn't tell you when the world is brought you down to your knees. And I'll be there for you when the rain starts to pour. I'll be there for Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Little darling, the smiles return to your face. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright.
This woman to this man in marriage?
Her mother and I.
Yes, please be seated. Good evening. My name is Ron Kelly, and I will be your officiant for tonight's wedding. What a beautiful setting we have this evening. I think the sun's going to come out, right? It's going to come out. Is it going to break through? Are we all ready for Mike and Lily to get married?
Yeah.
I'm absolutely thrilled and honored to have been asked to participate in such a special day for a special couple. On behalf of Mike and Lily, I'd like to welcome and sincerely thank all of you for attending. While all wedding invitees are special, this is truly a remarkable group, as Mike and Lily were forced to make difficult decisions at Marlene, and Mike's papa, his grandfather. I know both would love nothing more than to be here today with all of us and with Mike. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Sure. Let's do it. Many of you may be wondering who I am and why I was selected to officiate this wedding. I've personally been to countless weddings, hoping each time that the priest or the officiant would go really quickly so I could get a drink, and go to the bar, and go on to the reception. But now that I have this opportunity, I'm going to express myself a little bit, and I think these two would expect nothing less. One of the things I do share in common with Mike and Lily is that this will be the first and only time they get married, and this will be the first and only time I serve as an officiant. I first met the bride in September of 2014 after starting a new job at e-commerce retailer Lily. I found myself at a meeting one afternoon at the very beginning, and I remember meeting this young lady. It's pretty vivid in my mind to this day. A young woman in the room, she immediately caught my attention. My initial thought was, oh my God, this place has hired 12-year-olds. But I also felt an immediate connection to this young lady. She had a special vibe and energy about her, and I'm pretty sure she even gave me a little bit of sass in that first meeting. Fast forward a few months, and this junior analyst ends up working in my organization. Comedy hour. Lily demonstrated a thirst to learn and grow. She had and still has a youthful exuberance, but an old soul. And I took a keen interest in her career and watched her develop, grow, and blossom, not only into a talented analyst, but more importantly, an amazing young lady. Ultimately, I became Lily's boss, her mentor, her friend, and of course, next step is the officiant. My introduction to Mike came more than a year later. Lily generally wore jeans and either a Wazoo, Seattle Mariner, or occasionally Jurassic Park. Then one day in early July of 2015, and I remember this very well, she walks in a beautiful white dress, not quite this beautiful, and it had colorful flowers all over it. And she mentions to me a bit nervously that she needed to leave by 5 o'clock. Now, I pride myself on being at least somewhat aware at work, and it became pretty obvious to me that Lily had a date. The protective side of me wondered immediately who this boy could be. I'd like to put a pin in this little story for now and make you all wait with anticipation. You'll hopefully understand why in a few minutes. We have an opening reading titled From Beginning to End by Robert Fulton. You have known each other from the first glance of acquaintance to this point of commitment. At some point, you decided to marry. From that moment of yes to this moment of yes, indeed, you have been making promises and agreements in an informal way. All those conversations that were held riding in a car or over a meal or during long walks, all those sentences that began with, when we're married, and continued with, I will, and you will, and we will. Those late night talks that included someday and somehow and maybe. All those promises that are unspoken matters of the heart. All these common things and more are the real process of a wedding. The symbolic vows that you are about to make are a way of saying to one another, you know all those things we promised and hoped and dreamed? Well, I meant it all, every word. Look at one another, you are, and remember this moment in time. Before this moment, you have been many things to one another. Acquaintance, friend, companion, lover, and even teacher, where you have learned so much from one another in these last few years. Soon you shall say a few words that take you across the threshold of life, and things will never quite be the same between the two of you. For after these vows you shall say to the world, this is my life partner, this is my husband, this is my wife. As I mentioned earlier, and I'm sure it's becoming more and more clear, I've never been an officiant at a wedding. As I prepared for this, I did probably what most people would do. Went to Google and I said, how do you officiate a wedding? And what I learned is this is the part where I'm supposed to tell you all about love and marriage. But I'm not going to do that. I'll spare you the preaching. Mike and Lily's love story, while not completely uncommon, it is unique, and I think it demonstrates why today they are such a strong couple. They met in the Scotty Coat dorms at Washington State University in the fall of 2010. Lily a freshman, Mike a sophomore. Now remember that first impression Lily made on me in a work setting? She made quite an impression on a young man of similar age back in the fall of 2010. After a few weeks of being smitten, Mike finally got the courage to ask Lily out on a date. But of course, the one thing I do know about love, it's not easy. The feelings were not mutual, and Lily said no. True story. Thankfully, this would not be the end of their story. Mike and Lily remained friends throughout college and became even better friends when both ended up in Seattle in early 2014. I know you're all waiting with anticipation. You want to get back to that story. So let's get back to July of 2015. While it seemed inconceivable at the time, Lily had an even bigger smile on her face, more youthful exuberance, and seemed incredibly happy. The date must have gone well, I thought to myself. My introduction to the young man took place a few months later, in December of 2015, at our annual team holiday party at our home. I immediately liked Mike. We had a lot in common. He liked sports, loved his Cougs, clearly. And he also excelled at golf, tennis, and skiing. As a guy who likes to give people nicknames, I called him Country Club, or CC, and I still do to this day because he excelled at this sport. But most importantly, you could see right away that Mike was kind, respectful, loving, and certainly patient. It was obvious to me from that first encounter that Mike and Lily were meant to be life partners. Yes, Mike and I do have a few things in common. We both love sports, and we both were immediately drawn to Lily. And although it didn't take her 5 years to say yes to me, like it did for Mike, it certainly took her a few months to get used to me. They say good things come to those who wait. I wondered who they were. This was also part of my internet research. While this saying originated from an English proverb in the 1800s, it was made famous in the 1990s as an ad campaign for Guinness beer. And of course, the enjoyment of beer is another thing that Mike and Lily and I have in common. It's also said that patience is a virtue. Mike demonstrated plenty of patience over the 5 years, and he certainly got a pretty good thing by waiting. As those of us who have been married a long time know, patience is one of the keys to a successful and happy marriage. I think this couple is on its way. Mike and Lily, today begins a great new chapter in the story of your lives. My wish for you is to continue to demonstrate the kindness, respect, love, and patience I witnessed from the two of you when I had the great fortune of meeting you as a couple for the first time. And now, exchange of vows. Marriage begins in the giving of your word. You cannot join yourselves to one another without giving your word. This must be unconditional. For in joining yourselves to each other, you are joining yourselves to tomorrow, to the unknown and ever-changing surprise of life. Michael and Lillian have decided to write and say their own vows.
Lillian, someone once told me that love is soul to the counterpart of another. Some of you will recognize this line, some of you may not. I love the way that we quote random movies and shows. Lily, when we first met, I never imagined it. Especially after you turned me down. We were here today, and I couldn't be happier. I promise to support you, to honor you, to be by your side. Through the highs and the lows. I promise to watch Titanic with you no matter how long. I will never let go. I love your intensity, your passion, your express for life. The effort you committed. black diamonds. I look forward to chasing sunsets with you all over the world. And continuing our journey together, and remembering that the key to life is to accept that you're never actually in control. The simple words, I do, reflect a contract between you and I, in a way, to do whatever it takes to make it happen. But most of all, I love you, and always will.
Okay. No, I can remember. Michael, I love you. You are my best friend, and I can't believe that in just a few short minutes, I will forever get to call you my husband. Thank you for loving my craziness and my intensity. I know I can be a lot, but your patience, along with your own silliness, makes us one hell of a couple. I'll never forget us sitting on the bathroom floor at the penthouse, just talking forever. It was so easy, and I knew something was beginning between the two of us. Or should I say that I was just catching up with what you knew 5 years ago when we met in the dorms. I'm glad I finally came to my senses, even if it took 5 years to do so. Since then, these last 5 years have been the best of my life. All that we have shared together and how we have grown together. The countless Mariner games, tennis matches, ski days, road trips, and so much more. With so many memories, it makes me even more excited for what the future holds for us. Our first puppy, which is hopefully just a few months away. Our kids, the million more crazy 8 games we'll play, which I'll be kicking your ass at. Going down more black diamonds, breweries and wineries, and just sitting on the couch eating weirdos. And all of this, just know that you make me laugh, you make me think, and above all, you make me happy. I promise to love you in the good times and in the bad, when life is easy and when it's hard, when our love's simple and when it's an effort. I promise to honor, love, and cherish you through all of life's adventures. Wherever we go, we will go together. But in all of this, always remember that I love you most.
And so it is, Michael and Lillian, that we, your family and friends, bear witness as you gave your word and pledged your love and your life to each other. Please bring forward the rings. These are the hands of your best friend, young, strong, and full of love for you. These are the hands that will work alongside yours as together you build your future. These are the hands that will passionately cherish you through the years, and with the slightest touch will comfort you like no other. These are the hands that will hold you when fear or grief fill your mind, that will wipe away countless tears, tears of joy and sorrow. These are the hands that, even when aged, will still reach out to you with the same touch that comforts you this day. A quick story about the rings. I mentioned earlier that Papa Merv, unfortunately, could not be here today, but his wedding ring is here today. Michael would be wearing his grandfather's ring, and remarkably, his wife's name was Lillian. True story. Whenever you glance at these rings, know that you are loved beyond imagination. Michael, as you place this ring on Lillian's finger, repeat after me. I give you this ring as a pledge of my love and the symbol. As a pledge of my love.
As a pledge of my love.
And the symbol of our unity. Lillian, as you place this ring on Michael's finger, repeat after me. I give you this ring
I give you this ring
as a pledge of my love
as a pledge of my love
and the symbol of our unity.
and the symbol of our unity. Stuck with me.
What an amazing day. On behalf of myself and everyone gathered, I want to thank you for the gift that this is to all of us. Well, I'm the last person you should take marriage advice from. What I will do is leave you with one of Lily's favorite monisms. When things get tough and they will get tough or seem a bit sideways, communication is always the key. My strong recommendation is you get in a new athletic position. Spread wide, a solid base. You bend your knees with a bit of passion and you say, "Talk to me!" There's about 4 people here that understand what this means. The rest of you know why I'll never be asked to be in a position again. So with that, and now, by the power vested in me, it is my honor to pronounce as and to present for the very first time as husband and wife, Mr. and Mrs. Michael and Lillian Bohdanowicz. Now you may kiss the bride.
Johnny's got it.